Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad to hear this morning. Another cool, chilly morning, but it's going to be a really sunny day, and wind's going to be fairly strong again. It really blew yesterday, I know. Our weather, of course, brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and Highway 77. If you have a chance, we'll run by there and check out all the programs they can offer you. High today, 59, low 41, and water temperature remains at, guess what, 60 degrees. Been real steady. Let's take a look at our river readings. The Apalachicola Bluntstown, like we talked about yesterday, really shot up and actually went up a little bit higher than they thought. It was at 13 foot Tuesday night, but it's dropping fairly rapidly right now. Okay, and then the Choctahatchee at Caryville is starting to drop this morning. It was reading a 9.7. It's got up over 10 foot over the weekend, and then it's dropping down to it's at 9.7 this morning, dropping on out on a good steady drop. Nice falling water there. Now, a tide chart brought to us by Kent, Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery right here on 23rd Street. Tides are starting to pick up a little bit now. Today is Wednesday the 28th. You're looking at a pretty strong tide. It's coming in low at 2:27 this morning and high this afternoon at 4:13. But the marine forecast has north-northwest at 5 to 10. So not going to be near as strong as yesterday, but it'll be a little bit of a breeze there. So got a pretty good incoming tide after lunch today, so be aware of that. All right, let's take our break and we'll be back with our special guest. All right, welcome back, and welcome Captain Ken Paramore.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Glad to be back.
Well, listen, let's talk about a little bit of hunting. Have you had a chance to get out and do much yourself, or you been working too hard?
No, I've been hunting.
Yeah, okay. You squeeze it in?
But I have, yeah, it's killing me, but I've been doing it. But I haven't been successful yet.
Yeah.
I've been, I don't know, a bunch of days and afternoons and early mornings and not yet. But
I know last year you got a nice one.
I did.
Yeah.
I did, and of course that was the 29th of January.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not there yet. So I've got a few days.
In your area, what's the rut situation going on there?
It's just on the cusp of starting.
Okay.
I found some scrapes and some chase. You know, you can see some where they've been chasing, and but it's not peaked quite yet, but it's right there. So
okay.
So the best days are hopefully ahead.
Oh, that's an optimistic outdoorsman. I just go being outdoorsman. You have to be optimistic. Fishing.
Well, I don't want to get skunked this year. If I do, it's going to be a problem. So.
Fishermen and hunters have that same optimism. Always have, always
sure.
will. All right, look, speaking of fishing, I mentioned this the other day on the show, and you're going to sort of give us a little more detail on it because we just sort of threw it out there because we don't know a whole lot about it. But getting to that Gulf Reef survey, it's something brand new, and we're just finding out about it. So sort of elaborate.
it was. We had a hint that something like this was coming a year ago,
okay.
or 6 months ago anyway. But as most of us do, we hear about it and we forget about it until all of a sudden it slaps us, you know.
Uh-huh.
So I was kind of caught as much off guard about it as you and probably your viewers were. So I did a little digging yesterday and I found some information on it, and to kind of quell some of the negativity that we're hearing about it, and maybe put some better facts out there so people understand why. We're going to have to put it back on us, the people. The people have, and the public have, petitioned and called and asked and yelled and screamed for years about bad data. Mm-hmm. And we've been the same way, personally, mm-hmm. as you know. So in an effort to combat the thought process of bad data, the FWC, through a 5-year study with a 5-year grant, has come up with a way that we feel, that we can better collect reef fish data. Mm-hmm. If we continue to get criticized for having bad data, well, when you get criticized for doing things that are not good, what do you try to do? You try to come up with a way to do better. Mm-hmm. So in order to collect better data, the only way to collect data in this arena is by trying to survey what the catch is, what people are catching, and try to determine if their seasons are too short or too long, or if you have plenty of fish. So this is an attempt to collect more accurate data, probably primarily state waters fishery, because that's what we manage, and ask the public to participate in this survey to help gather that data.
Okay. Okay.
If you make something like this voluntary, previous studies have found that people won't participate. Mm-hmm. If we make something mandatory, like this will be, it's a fine line about where's enforcement and what's enforcement going to do and what's going to happen if I don't. Mm-hmm. We would rather educate and bring people along than we need to, make criminals or bad guys out of people who don't who don't participate. So we will know in 5 years after this study is done, what has been accomplished. But the intent is to provide either better or more opportunity for our anglers based on good data, rather than being criticized for the way the data's been for years. We've always heard that data's flawed. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, we're going to try to make the data more accurate.
Now this is separate from NOAA and their studies. This would be a state study.
Right.
Yeah.
I think because the anglers will have to, I suppose, report their catch. We will also include catch that was taken in federal waters.
Yeah. Yeah.
During that, but I haven't been able to find out yet the method of reporting and what we're going to report, other than a list of Gulf Reef fish.
That was my next question. Exactly how do we go about reporting? And I know
the first step I think we need to cover is how you sign up. Okay. And you when you go to buy your license, or renew your license, there'll be a box on there, just like the hunting license. There's a box that you check that asks you if you're going to hunt migratory birds. And it covers the ducks and the doves. And if you check that box, it's a no-cost permit. And the feds, after hunting seasons, will send some of those people a survey. Did you harvest any ducks? Did you harvest any doves? How many days did you hunt? Same kind of thing. This will have a place for Gulf Reef fish permit, and you'll check the box. It'll be no cost. It'll be on your license. If you already have a current license, and I believe this takes effect April 1st, then there's a way to go back in to purchase the license and just get that by checking a box and not have to rebuy a whole license. So, or you can go to my FWC, and there's some links that get you to I think you end up at the where you buy licenses at to get this permit, which is a check the box type permit that's added, and it'll show on the new licenses that you've done that.
Okay.
They haven't really spelled out yet how we're going to do the reporting. Okay. I guess it's going to depend on what kind of seasons we have, particularly for red snapper. But there's other Gulf Reef fish. Most of the groupers, the vermilions, the triggerfish.
Yeah.
So.
Well, one of my concerns, and we just don't know a lot about it, but I was thinking, we're getting this survey set up and all, and we might not even have a red snapper season this summer, and how we're going to be able to report on something like that.
We won't do the snapper, but we would do probably the amberjack, the red grouper, the gags. So there'll be other fish to report.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Today with Captain Ken Paramore with FWC, and we're going to talk about some coyotes and bears. But first, we have a nice picture from the Paramore family. But well, tell us about this one.
Well, we talked about hunting a minute ago, and I forgot to remind you that we did have a picture. That's my son Matt, and Monday, Martin Luther King Day, he shot that buck about 8 o'clock in the morning. And big body deer. The deer came into a grunt. He's in full rut. He was stinking and had broken off one side there from fighting probably. A good rutting buck, and anytime you can kill a buck that comes into a grunt, you know, it's kind of like turkey hunting when you call in
call
a
'em
turkey.
in.
So
That's cool.
It's more interactive, and for us, it's more fun than just sitting on a pile of corn.
And that's the same area that you hunt in, but
Right.
in general, you say they haven't come in yet.
Not by that date. They're normally not quite going. So I don't know what was wrong with this guy. But
And we were talking off air a while ago during a commercial break that sometimes you know, maybe an individual buck or individual doe will be out of that little zone
right
up there.
And I've got a trail camera on a scrape right now, and I've got 4 different bucks coming to that scrape. Even little spikes will come to the scrapes, and 1 decent buck, and then I got a picture of a doe standing at the scrape.
Yeah.
So it's an attractant for all different sizes of deer, I guess, when they're scraping. But anyway,
You put any kind of anything out for them, or just?
I did pour some urine type stuff in this one scrape to kind of get them, and they came. There was, like I say, there was 4 different ones there. So
Yeah, that's interesting.
yeah.
All right, let's talk about these coyotes. Or is that what you had next?
Coyotes is fine, yeah. Real quick, I just want to mention that we received a flyer from our FWRI, which is our research institute in St. Pete, and they've been doing a study on coyotes that are in urban areas, and they've trapped and examined carcasses of over 250 of them by now, and they're studying their stomach content and what they're eating. What they're trying to figure out is what are they eating in places where there's a lot of people that they interact with. Are they going to like dumpsters and garbage cans and eating that kind of food? But anyway, one really interesting thing I found that in the stomach of one coyote, there were 47 rats in the stomach content of one coyote. So I guess by looking at that, you could argue, are coyotes that bad if they're eating that many rats? I don't know.
That's a good point.
But
47. I see the picture here. I try to take a show of y'all tomorrow too.
And they digest their food every 5 hours. So
they're constantly.
I guess that's why they're constantly on the run. You never see one hardly sitting still. When you see one, he's moving usually. But anyway, I thought it was interesting that a lot of their diet is made up of rats.
And one of the goals you said on the study, they wanted to find out about the young turkeys and all.
They're trying to correlate it to how bad is the depredation on wild turkey nests when the turkeys are nesting, and that's going to be part of it. And I'm sure they're going to get down the road and try to find out how bad they are about depredating on fawns.
Yeah. And you know, bobcats probably do the same thing, but there's just not as many bobcats as the coyotes. They're so prolific.
Yeah, the coyotes are everywhere now, and a lot of problems associated with them.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about bears if we have a minute. As everybody knows, we have had numerous human and bear conflicts over the last year. We've had 4 documented attacks, if you will, or there are situations where bears have bitten people or attacked people. And the time has come, obviously, for a different approach to bear management. And as some of you may or may not have heard, the commission in February is going to sit down and be talking with staff about a bear season. And as most of you know, bears have been closed to legal take since 1994. I believe that the commission passed the closure in 93, became effective the season 94. No more bear hunting. So bears have been closed 20 plus years.
Wow.
And
doesn't
so
seem like that long, does it?
Right. And you know, we know that bears get run over by cars, and we know that some people unscrupulously have shot bears and shoot bears. But obviously, between the mortality rate for accidental and or a little bit of intentional over the years has not kept the populations probably where they need to be. So I don't have any details on the wins or the wheres or how of a bear season, but I can tell you that they are looking at and will probably implement some sort of bear hunting in certain parts of the state in the near future.
That's good news, I think, because even just on a safety factor, and I'm sure it's going to be like limited areas and a limited hunt, and I can understand that. And really, I think that's a move in the right direction. I know a lot of viewers a lot of them in favor of it too, because you know the outdoorsmen have seen this develop.
The outdoorsmen are.
Yeah.
The problem is, and the hurdles to overcome, is when you look at the makeup of our state.
Yeah, the animal rights activists and all their.
It's not going to be an easy thing to overcome.
That's true.
What we found over the years, when you close something, it's really hard to open it back up down the road. And the makeup of the people in our state, and you know, the majority of our state, the people don't even see or know anything about the bears, and the sportsmen know. And some places, like probably around Orlando and Ocala, it's going to be hard to have bear hunting because of you need to have a pretty expansive sized piece of land, and a lot of the bears are living in places that are little enclaves and pockets,
Right.
you know, around neighborhoods where you just can't go in there and, you know, go hunting and blasting away. And maybe some archery hunts in certain places would work. But we do have enough land up here where we could support and have something. It would probably be a quota. It's probably going to be a tagging system, a call-in reporting system, probably like governed, probably like our alligator hunt. You know.
Yeah, and I was going to mention that's what got out of hand when we started protecting the gators, and which we did because they were being slaughtered. So we started protecting them, and all of a sudden, boom,
we have
all over the place.
gators out our ears. So, but we have been trapping and euthanizing more bears than we've ever done. In these neighborhoods, if they become habituated to people and food and dumpsters and garbage cans, we're trying to educate people about that, but we're also in the mode now that if he's a nuisance bear and we trap him, we're not relocating. He gets euthanized. And
yeah, so we sort of changed it. Yeah,
right.
they keep going back. It's amazing.
And that's been proven.
Yeah. So I got a final break, and we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. Here with Captain Ken Paramore. We're talking about bears and fish and coyotes and all kind of things that are very important to us as outdoorsmen. Another thing important, our fish and game forecast. So let's take a look at it. Brought to us by Mark Cowart of Edgewater Beach Realty. We're looking at our time this morning, 6:46 to 8:46. Excellent time to be out in the woods. And this evening, 7:12 to 9:12. And we'll hear more and more good reports on this time about, you know, especially with bucks and all moving around. This is fascinating.
Yeah, and like we mentioned before, when the rut is on, middle of the day is as good as early in the morning or late in the afternoon.
That's true.
They're going to be moving.
Okay, let's talk about our case of the month. This is interesting.
Yep, real quick, but before I get that, I forgot one thing. We had a hunting accident at Apalachicola Forest over the weekend. A 15-year-old boy was, I guess, on the ground, standing, you know, a deer hunting position, with the muzzle of a 20-gauge shotgun on his foot. And the safety was off, and somehow the trigger got pulled, and the results were not very good. Hunter safety is all I can stress here. We've got to know where the muzzle of that gun is pointed at all times, and that's the first and foremost thing that I feel like we should teach the kids is if that muzzle is in a safe direction, it's not going to hurt anybody, accidental or otherwise.
Teach them in a hunter safety, always keep it down, or you don't ever have a bub.
Well, to me, either safe direction, I think. You know, there's 10 rules for hunter safety, but the number one with me is where that muzzle's at.
Yeah.
Because if that trigger gets pulled, if no one's in the way, no one's going to get hurt. Case of the month, real quick. A few weeks ago, Officer Kathy Jackson received a complaint from a landowner who at nighttime had heard shots and had gone down to the road and encountered some young people on the side of the road, and they claimed that they had shot some critter, I forget what it was, and swore up and down that they hadn't shot at a deer. Well, he looked around and he couldn't find a deer, and I'm not sure how much information he got from them, but they left. And so he called us. Kathy went there, helped him look around. They couldn't find anything at the time. So Kathy left the area. She went to a whole other side of the county and set up somewhere on a field. And lo and behold, here comes a truck, shining a spotlight, pulled up to the field and shot. So she goes out there and stops them, and she makes the arrest for night hunting. I think they missed that deer. I don't think she had a deer that night, but she got the gun and the light and got those people. So she released them with their tickets, and she went back to the previous complaint the next day, next morning, and they found a deer. So she went back to the people that she stopped and made the case on her own and did some interviewing, and lo and behold, it was the same crew. So they had shot a deer in one place and got away with it by the landowner that encountered them first, and then they just continued about their way, and she just happened to have gone and set up down the road, not down the road, pretty good ways away, and lo and behold, they showed up and she caught them.
Wow.
And then they tied it back to the original case, so they had 2 incidents that night, because they weren't smart enough to take their warning from the landowner.
A couple of things come out real quick to me. What good law enforcement techniques she had to go prevent in another area. And the second thing, how moronic and how stupid these kids are.
What do they call it? Dumb crook. Dumb crook news.
Yeah, and to have had a close call like that seems like, you just
I'd have went home.
Go home and count.
I got that close and I'd have went home. But
cut your losses. And
I guess that's what keeps us in business.
That's fascinating, though. So now that was here in our Panhandle area.
That was in Washington County.
Washington County. Okay.
Yeah.
And
edge of Holmes County, but I think it was in Washington.
So the best thing to do is, like people do, like that guy did. He heard the gunshots and he got a hold of y'all. And
this time of year, it happens up there almost every night somewhere.
Really?
I mean, because the deer on the side of the roads, and they're opportunistic people. It's easy for them. They don't have hunting leases to go to, and I left my lease last night and was hunting. Didn't see a deer, and I got on the highway, and there was about a 6-pointer on the side of the highway as I was driving home. So they're there.
Okay.
So people are going to take advantage of it.
All right. Well, that's a lot of good stuff, Ken. Appreciate you coming on.
It's been a whole month.
I know it. If you have any questions, feel free to call FWC office and get these questions answered. And we want to report violators anytime you get a chance to. That's important.
It is, and they can be eligible for a reward.
That's right, a good reward. And as always, I want to tell you folks how much we appreciate you watching Panhandle Outdoors. It's America's only daily outdoor TV show just because of your support. So you do something good for your fellow man today. Have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.